What kind of movie are you interested in? Well, I want to see hot, half-naked chicks running around fighting zombies with some pudgy guy with a nunchucks. And the funny thing is, the actor who played this role actually really knew how to use those nunchucks. That guy was in control of those things. This is a great film made in 2006 for $600,000. And if anyone ever threw $1 million my way, it's the kind of movie I would make. A very low budget, very funny, and very not politically correct film. So, dear Star Wars fans, you don't understand the people who run Disney, because if you did, you would have no interest in Disney whatsoever. Star Wars is just a vector for the humiliation, ritual, propaganda, and it's really not about the money. And getting people who are just kind of casual fans of pop culture to look at the things that are going on and come to the conclusion that holy cow, it really isn't about the money. That's a motive that people can understand, money or ideology. And it's like, yeah, this is business. You think, oh, it's money, not ideology. No, money is secondary. They have to have enough grease to make the gears turn, but ideology is the primary focus. The primary focus is to F you in the A and charge you for it. All the YouTube channels, they talk about Star Wars. They're great channels. They're really entertaining, but they're infotainment. Their job is to sell advertising space. So they've got to sort of sell what people are buying, fair enough, but also what YouTube allows them to sell, which is an ever-narrowing field of permissible content. It is different than actually reporting the news or giving an honest opinion. That's not what YouTube is set up for, and YouTube is getting worse every day. All the good live streams are gone, because if this is your gig or even a part-time thing, you're going to do what you have to do to keep getting those Google PayPal clicks. That's why I've got a lot of respect for people that push the boundaries, even if I don't agree with all of their behavior. You know, I think what is happening to comics and Comicsgate and the lamentation of the SCWs might happen to YouTube one day if enough people start doing their videos and live streams on Odysee, Gab, BitChute, Trovo, Rumble, Pilled. People will migrate away from YouTube because YouTube really sucks. It will be interesting to see if one day YouTube starts to lose its stranglehold on the cattle. The best streams now are not on YouTube. If you listen to YouTube now and you listen to, like, you think back, if you've been on it a few years, to think back what it was like of just a few years ago, it sucks now. YouTube is like, it's the equivalent of, so you start off with a sports car that's, yeah, it's wild and it breaks down half the time, but it's fast as hell. And now, like, you're slowly morphing into a four-door sedan that gets great mileage. And it's like, handling isn't really its thing. It's more comfort. It's like, oh, this isn't really what I signed up for, to have like your average milquetoast family truckster. The best streams now are definitely on alt media. YouTube allows the most boring, middle-of-the-road approach that won't offend the advertisers. I don't want to even name the handful of real channels that remain. There's like a half a dozen in case I jinx them. And, you know, I was thinking, is jinx a slur? And the fucked up thing is that we could probably make it a slur if we wanted to and get it put on the SPLC, ADL, ACLU hot lists and have John Greenblatt calling Google or the FBI to anyway. What Doomcock talks about with his predictions is they're pretty reasonable predictions. So he's not like pulling things out of thin air. It's what a reasonable company would do if they were acting in good faith and fair dealing to, you know, return on investments as high as possible, and grow the company or get pay back the stock to the investors. It's like, yeah, okay, that's what reasonable companies are. They're growth companies, or they're trying to pay the investors back. It's like that's kind of the two general ways companies are people have financial interests in the companies. So what he's saying is all very well and good if they were acting like according to those generally recognized principles of business and accounting, but they're not. They're not acting like that because they're not trying to make money as their primary religion. They're globalist vermin who are selling cultural Marxism. They want the logical conclusion of Bolshevism started over 100 years ago. The tall grass theory, which is a dog whistle because YouTube is super lighthearted and frivolous. So yes, if Disney was in business, they would do things differently. But they're not in business exactly. They're on a mission from, not God, but I think Lucifer, to spread a light of corrosion onto a killing radiation, would be a better metaphor. After seeing all the crap, not only Disney is pulling, but the media in general, eventually you got to make the connection to the globalist problem. Every ad you see on TV or social media is a stupid blonde person and a wise, mature POC who just has to roll their eyes in frustration at these silly blonde people. Yeah, they built Europe. What did you build? Oh, how dare you say that? Well, let's just compare areas. Can we compare? No, that's verboten. There's a guy on Twitter who's got I am not long for YouTube. Who's got a channel called White People Are Stupid in Commercials, I think. That's all he shows, and he never runs out of material. Why do you think the media is doing this, and who's behind it? When you look at Disney Star Wars film revenues, people see these billions of dollars, and they wonder what the fuss is. First of all, the bigger picture is what Solo told you. People saw the Disney trilogy to complete the story and put Star Wars behind them. The Solo bomb was evidence that people were done with propaganda films and are tired of being insulted by just the worst people on earth, like panty-sniffing, drug-using, kitty-diddling Epstein-Weinstein perverts. And then you look at Galaxy's Edge, low interest in that, and then the toy sales, there's zero interest in people buying Rose Tico dolls, which is why EVS was running over Rose Tico dolls with his truck. It bothered them so much. And when Flash was, this was way back, 3 years ago, was he had a knife, he'd click it open, and he'd cut up comic books or stab comic books, and people lost their freaking minds over those acts. Because it's a rejection of cultural Bolshevism. It's a rejection of the propaganda. And doing that kind of stuff now, I don't know. Running over Rose Tico dolls wouldn't get you kicked off YouTube, but it would bring negative attention to your channel that you don't want. And Flash with a hunting knife stabbing comic books, I don't think that would fly on YouTube anymore. They would probably remove those videos as an act of violence. That's how lighthearted and frivolous YouTube has become over the years. Anyway, so then the Mando comes out, and people are getting back on board. Get on the trains, cattle. And they're buying those Disney Plus subscriptions for whatever it costs. And those Yoda dolls are selling like crazy. It's like just the cheapest Chinese-made garbage. Why are you buying that stuff? I want a fluffy little doll. Gina Carano comes on board. People love her. My fat Italian Fraulein. So Disney can't have people enjoying themselves, and I totally would. Please sit on my face, Gina Carano. So they fire her and insult her on Twitter for taking a very reasonable stance towards free expression and people just being decent to each other. So social media has shown us what absolute cunts Rian, Roundhead, Johnson, and that big-nosed guy are in Star Wars. They really hate and look down on the customers. And they sort of have a right to. They hate you and you buy their Disney Plus subs. Disney is involved in this sadomasochistic relationship with the customer. If you pay to be insulted, you're going to be insulted. It's like a kink for these customers. It's like a huge circle jerk with Disney, Doomcock, Nerdrotic, and the Fandom Menace. And I'm not blaming these guys. They're more entertaining to listen to than Disney. But that's not saying much. It could be an insult in its own right. I know that they're wildly successful channels, and I heard that little bit of news with the Jesse Milestone Nerdrotic thing. That was interesting. I thought about doing a video on it. It's like, maybe a live stream. But I can't help but comparing Fandom Menace to Comiskate. Comiskate actually creates something. It's sort of a different direction that they're going in. It's like, Comiskate is not... The streams probably are not as successful, but they're actually building something, so it's a whole kind of different thing. And here's the thing with pop culture. It's like the Trump effect in 2016. The media was saying that Trump was Satan and Hillary was the only way to go. Or, to be honest, I guess they were kind of saying that she's slightly less than Satan or better than super predators. Hillary in 94 was more based than anyone in the GOP now. Oh, but Dan Crenshaw, Charlie Kirk, and Ben Shapiro. Please slap yourself and just take the dildo out of your ass. So when people were polled, a lot of Trump voters said undecided because they wanted to avoid conflict, even if it's conflict over the phone or with a face-to-face pollster. Same with pop culture is, my deal is tell people what you want. There are many reasons to criticize pop culture. I grind an axe, definitely. I focus on the anti-white vitriol coming from these globalist ticks and leeches. If you ask me why Star Wars sucked, I would say too much diversity. Diversity will give you brain cancer. I want to see a story like the original 77 version. Oh yes, put a blonde man in the lead. No more purse puppy magic vaginas. Hollywood feels like a bunch of Epstein, Weinstein types who sniff cocaine and hate European people and make movies that are just a corrosive chemical. Just be honest. Stop trying to placate these Weinstein-type degenerates in Hollywood. They're a bunch of kitty diddlers who also feel that they can lecture the cattle. More people need to look at these Alan Dershowitz types and say, didn't you visit Epstein's Island? Weren't you attacking one of the witnesses? Oh yeah, you were, Alan Dershowitz. Epstein. What's going on with that? But Alan Dershowitz went on Tucker Carlson like a year ago, and you could see Alan sweating. Like he finally started to get a glimpse that there might be something, some kind of consequences coming for him. But that all blew over. Thank gosh Epstein didn't kill himself. People are slowly learning what Hollywood is. It's like the people behind the Hollywood machine will make an atheist open their eyes to biblical levels of evil. Think about what power the Hollywood propaganda machine has for good, nationalism, or evil, globalism. Just my opinion. Let me give a graphic example, a little trigger warning, not that anyone who listens to this needs one. Think back over your lifetime of watching films. Struggle snuggle scenes. Now, note the assailant. Now, scroll your fingers over to the FBI.gov and explore the stats on that act. I think you start with table 43, which is the deletion table, but it'll be around there. Note the assailants. Do you notice any discrepancy? Gosh. Definitely go down the rabbit hole. Mainline red pills. Go on Gab. Go on Gab. But you're going to be done with 99% of everything that comes out of Hollywood. The modern stuff will turn to ashes in your mouth because it was ashes this whole time, just sugar-coated poison. It's the South Park where Stan realizes that everything is crap. All the MTV, talk shows, radio shows, advertising, anything that has to pass through the globalist goblin filter is crap. Anything that isn't crap will trigger a response from the ADL, SPLC, ACLU car. The cattle must not be allowed to think for themselves, or they may get ideas and wonder, what are these horns and hooves for anyway? Hollywood is this soft, hypnotic, controlled opposition. They set firm parameters and allow fierce debate and exploration within those boundaries, but not one iota further. Imagine an algorithm that has all the words in common American usage, common American English, and now set it to analyze videos or documents. And here's a tricky bit. To search for words not spoken. To find the missing words. Maybe they're not germane to the topic, but explore media where a reasonable person would analyze it and list words relevant and probative to the topic at hand, assuming that they could turn off their internal PC filter, which people are usually able to do in a one-on-one setting, or if they're anonymous. Now note the missing words in the source material, but the words pop up when a normie discusses it. Those are the very important missing words. So stop playing their game of haram, wrong think, and self-censorship. Discuss films or comics honestly. There's a movie called Special Dead, a $600,000 zombie film. There's a scene where a guy, the guy with the nunchucks, is looking up the skirt of a girl he's already banging. There's nothing to see that he hasn't seen before, but it's just a weird psychological thrill with males. It's just the way it is. It's the way most of us are wired. It was a great scene because it was funny and true to life because it was so silly. It's like, you can see her anytime you want without the clothes whatsoever. But you're seeing something, there's a trick in your brain. It's like, oh, you're seeing something you're not ordinarily seeing in that context. It's like that's what makes it a little bit of magic for people. And it was a great scene, and it was a great movie about a camp for disabled kids getting eaten by zombies. And I don't think that would fly today. And that was only like 16 years ago. Which 16 years is light years away. The opening scene was the naked girl riding a guy who's wearing sunglasses who's barely conscious, which was probably a struggle snuggle scene all on its own. The movie was great because it had two pretty half-naked girls running around. I like half-naked women fighting zombies. Movies need to have more tits and ass and non-politically correct humor. Don't support these soylent Hollywood globalist pussies who make everyone a POC breastless lesbian. Keep in mind, Hollywood is controlled by Epstein Weinsteins, and they are lecturing you on Europa Man Bad. Blonde Man is awesome. Life would be better with more blondes and fewer Weinsteins. Inshallah. Anyway, join the channel while you can. Support my vitally important work off PayPal, Patreon. If you want to get a hold of me, do so in the Discord or in an email, because the comments, I don't get all of those comments, partially due to YouTube, and it's just there's a lot of comments across the different platforms. Anyway, I'll see you guys all next episode.